Had to take a little bit of a break there to fix our audio issues. Should be all good now. In any case, we'll be taking a look at Rain versus Prana, hopefully. Again, determines who advances out of this group. So pretty high stakes match.
Absolutely, yeah. As we said before, Prana needs a 2-0 to progress to day 2, but Rain only needs a 1-1.
Yeah, I would say I'm probably favoring Rain for this, just off that fact that they only need to pick up one game here. And the teams are probably relatively evenly matched, maybe with a little bit of a Rain favor. So I think Rain probably has the advantage, but I'm interested to see if Prana will be able to pick it up.
Definitely.
Right. If our teams are ready, I think we're probably good to go into the game.
Yep, the teams seem to be ready, so let's throw it over to the map introduction.
With more coastline than any country in the world, the nooks and crannies of the shores of northern Canada set the stage for a showdown between opposing fleets. Amidst the barren rocks and snow-capped peaks, only one team will remain unvanquished. This is Warrior's Path. Warrior's Path is a 48 by 48 kilometer domination-style map with 3 cap points running in a line from west to east. The A cap is on the extreme left, B is in the center, and C is on the far right. Given how the caps are arranged and how risky entering the B cap is in the early game, the most action is commonly found along the 1, 2, and 9, 10 lines. To the west, Cap A now no longer can be safely controlled with radars from nearby islands. Teams will have to rely on smokescreens and additional fire support to gain the upper hand in the battle for this capture point. Capture Area B is a difficult and challenging place to be in the early goings of a game. While the capture point was moved to a more central position, nearby islands still provide plenty of cover for radar cruisers, making this point exceptionally challenging to capture. Off to the east, the C cap offers solid cover for cruisers along the northwestern and southwestern edges, but precious little cover inside the cap itself. The long, narrow channel to the east that connects C to B is a frequent place to see pushes occur in the mid to late game, depending on the board positions of each team. Warrior's Path has a long and storied history within the tournament, having produced many close and competitive games. It begs the question, what memorable plays and matches will result this time around? 18 ships, 2 teams, 1 victor. It's time to play Warrior's Path.
Alrighty, coming back from our little break, going to be hopping into Prana versus Rain here on Warrior's Path. On the side of Prana, bringing in a Kremlin and a Burgoyne as their battleships, Des Moines, Moskva, Stalin, the standard old cruisers, Shimakaze, Gearing, Delny, and Daring as their destroyers. On the south side, it's going to be Rain, the 2 Vermonts as usual, 2 Des Moines and a Moskva, Harugumo, Gearing, Daring, and a Gdansk as their destroyers. So the Kremlin finally making an appearance today.
2 ships actually that we haven't seen a lot tonight. Yeah, was the Kremlin and the Bourgogne. We've seen the Bourgogne a little bit, but the comeback of Delny, we've seen Delny a lot, surprisingly enough. First time on Warrior's Path as well. This map has a very interesting flow compared, like if you compare the A cap to the C cap in terms of cover and everything. Allows for some crazy plays as we've seen in the previous weekend.
And so, it looks like Prana is actually going to be heavy towards that C side, the lighter force going towards A. Rain, on the other hand, it's going to be the opposite.
Yeah, so it looks like Rain is putting a lot of assets onto A and a few assets into Charlie. We are going to see the classic, the obvious, the unavoidable Daring v Daring at the B cap. That always happens.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's Ragnar versus Ragnar.
Sometimes it's a Gdansk versus Gdansk.
It's true. But always, you can't really leave that center cap uncontested because it is so hard to take late game.
Yeah.
Because late game you have so many ships with covers that are, can actually easily contest it. So interesting to see how this is going to play out.
Delny is going to be heading out towards the C cap right away, hopefully to take away an early cap here on the C side.
This could be the case. It will be backed up by Stalingrad and Des Moines. Like unusual sort of deployment coming in as well. I rarely see this sort of plays being made that way, at least. We're going to have some long range 16.5 kilometer gearing torpedoes going through the C cap here. Who knows? Maybe catching the real ship Shady. All amazing here on Rain side. Let's just try to pay attention to what's going to come up at a B.
Yeah, a little bit of a torpedo trade just for now. But both Darings have their hydros up, thankfully, so shouldn't be seeing any unfortunate accidents around that B cap.
Z42. Yeah, in the meantime, Prana is going to get the early cap advantage on C right now. Rain doesn't have anything to spot that Delny. So early cap by Prana will be interesting to see how this plays out. Both Daring seems to be reversing into the cap at the same time.
And what do you think about this Prana's Daring position? We've seen DDs try to get here. It seems he got there without taking too much of a trade.
I mean, he got there completely undetected until the Moskva's radar is going to cover him. Now, is this going to be enough for him to take some damage? No. Daring has brilliant acceleration and he's able to get to cover fairly nicely, basically nullifying this Moskva's radar. On the other hand, Rain's Daring, Enta, gets instantly countered radar, of course, by the Moskva, but this time, I don't know who they have to shoot at him. No, they don't have anything. He's gonna be able to get that cap in time. Easy though.
Some shells, just barely, resetting him with about 5 seconds remaining. BYF in that Kremlin there.
Even a Bourgogne salvo as well from 20 kilometers away, landing on Entaro here.
Kremlin looks like not able to find the mark, so plenty of HP remaining for recontest on this Daring.
It is true. He is still spotted though. The radar is still active on the Moskva for another, well, it's going to go down now. But that will give enough leeway for Prana's Daring to actually reverse into Bravo now that the Rain's Moskva, Luca here, has his radar on the cooldown.
Yeah, and strength of this position here that Prana's Daring has taken is that if Antaro's Daring wants to contest this position, he's going to have to face a 2v1.
He is, definitely. Also, amazing here from Rain, has taken a little bit of a beating in his Demoines. I'm not sure exactly what happened here. He has to be careful not to give too much broadsides to torpedoes. Is he going to catch one?
Looks like he's making a turn out instead of in here.
Yeah, I think with Demoines acceleration, it should be fine, but he's at risk of taking one in the stern if he's not careful.
No, he will squeak by that torpedo and...
Just barely.
That does open up the Des Moines combo of Prana, though, to make a more aggressive smokescreen on the 10 line.
The Congo line forcing Prana's Daring away from that cap. They've rotated the Gdansk, trying to contest that Bravo cap. Rain is rotating Gangbarang here to try and help on that B fight. But right now, it looks like most of the fight will be happening at C. Rain has taken advantage on A, and basically Shima Bourgogne from Prana cannot really do anything about this right now.
Yeah, and they're going to run away, maybe sling some torpedoes, but mostly they're just going to try to get themselves back into the fight somewhere else.
Oh, Prana's Des Moines took a little bit of a beating here on the 10 line.
He took one of those Haragumo torpedoes on his way in.
Perhaps.
But they do have a bit of a radar advantage here as the last of his radar ticks down. They weren't able to get that much damage onto Formazing's Des Moines using that radar. So in about 70 seconds, Formazing instead is going to be the one with the radar advantage in these smoke screens. But it looks like Prana's Des Moines not interested in the smoke anymore. He's going to be ducking away.
That's true. Enta's going to make a very interesting play here. It looks like he's pushing to this island. Both destroyers have hydroacoustic on cooldown. But Enta is actually being spotted. He's caught in the Stalingrad's radar from E9 here, and is actually visible to Prana's Moskva and of course, the Bourgogne as well. So Enta here, under tremendous pressure, takes a massive beating from these Moskva's railguns, and he knows he can't even smoke. The only issue is, once he's here, he's going to have to contend with Prana's Daring sonar, and this could be really, really problematic for him. On that position.
Oh, what is Prana's Daring doing though? He's apparently not interested in that. He's going to be heading off of this island. Maybe he's going to combine with his Delny here and just make a hard push down the rear. Maybe
I think this might happen. I think this might happen. The Moskva from Rain does not have any assets here. They are knowing this, and the Vermont kind of damages Yuka there. But they really want to push that Daring away into the Moskva's gun. Enta is in tremendous trouble here.
Yeah, looks like those two DDs going to link up here. Take a bit of a wide push onto Rain's Daring.
Yeah, they are unsure if they need to go short or if they need to go wide, but in any cases, this Daring is in big trouble. I think exactly what is spotting him right now. I think
it is the Kremlin, actually. Daring was opening up a little bit onto the Kremlin, and the Kremlin was spotting him through the little gap in the islands, but he is dark now.
Oh, and also Rain Gangbarang being cut into the Moskva's Hydro, revealing his position so that they know that the Gdansk is here at B. Yeah, this is a lot of pressure. As you can see, yeah, as you said, the Kremlin going through that pass basically is going to start putting a lot of pressure on Rain's position on B.
Yeah, and the Hydros are about to come up here for Yuka's daring. And that's going to put Entaro in a lot of danger. He has to escape the fire of the Moskva. It looks like he's going to back away all the way off of the island. They're trying to kill this Moskva first.
Yeah, it looks like Rain is about to get the B cap. They rotated Dingbarang and Entaro here. But still, this is a very precarious position, especially for Prana and Prana's Dedelny and Daring, because now Malimu in the Vermont has rotated and is ready to add his guns to the fray.
Yeah. Currently, though, it looks like Rain is going to be able to pick up the Moskva here. Lalala's from the side of Prana, not really able to conserve his HP in time to kind of combine with those destroyers to actually push out the Daring. So now the Daring has all this space to play with in front of the island.
Well, all the space, I'm not sure, because Prana has brought a Stalingrad, which pins Entaro here, still here. The only thing he doesn't have to face, though, is the Moskva's guns every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So there's that. The Delny, though, is he going to try to make a play on Malimu's Vermont? We might actually see a rush here.
Yep. Looks
we
like
might actually see a rush.
Trying to make this rush here. Got to be careful against the island. Doesn't get caught.
Oh, this could be really problematic because Malimu might be able to angle in time. Here comes the torpedo. That's an HE salvo. Devastating 3K. Is he going to be able to get the torps in time? He is.
Looks like the torps are finally coming out of that Delny. He will land all 10.
Oh, is it going to be enough to kill Malimu, though?
Ooh.
It is! What a trade, actually.
He does trade for that Vermont, opening up the side here. Now the Kremlin kind of has free reign of this BC side.
That is true. It's a beautiful trade as here from Prana here, basically trading just a Delny, but for Malimu in a Vermont, which is one of the biggest assets as well in these medium to late game plays.
Yeah, so Prana now, the advantage is towards their side on this side of the map. But Rain has been ticking away on those two caps while about 100-point lead so far, so Prana does not have a ton of time to make things happen.
It's going to begin to add up here. We see a Des Moines versus Bourgogne. Des Moines has so much advantage here because obviously Bourgogne cannot overmatch Des Moines' plating. Bit of a passive play. Prana has a Shimakaze in the play, but she's kind of, being kept at bay by Lulu Snail. So right now, Prana does not really have any assets for A, regardless. Most of what's going to happen is going to be between C and B. And what happened to Prana's gearing? He's on no HP at all. He must have
taken a torpedo or something, because we saw the exact same 600 HP before.
This time, please do not go down from a random stray shell aimed at another
And here
teammate.
comes the smoke, so they know where he is.
They know where he is, indeed. But I mean, he is smoking up the Des Moines.
Are they going to attempt the blind fire here?
I'm not sure.
Danger close to that Formazing radar. Look at the edge of that radar range.
It is very close. For Formazing, though, on 10k HP, could be problematic if he gets spotted. We see a Kremlin push here, still full HP, about to be facing Gdansk torpedoes potentially. But right now, Rain has a hold over caps, and as you said, it is going to start bleeding into their favor pretty substantially right now.
Prana only really has about 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes to make something happen using their kind of advantage here, their battleship advantage.
Stalling the Kremlin here is sort of a bad idea. I'm not sure what they're looking for. I think they're just trying to crossfire that Des Moines. Maybe that push on the 9-10 line was to spot that Des Moines so the Kremlin can get some crossfires into it.
Looks like he's trying to blind fire it or something. One Kremlin salvo going into that Des Moines smoke, but nowhere close to the mark.
Yeah, stalling the Kremlin here might actually be a problem. He's about to eat a few Gdansk torpedoes. Nothing that will kill him, but definitely some HP being removed here. I would expect that the Kremlin would make more of an aggressive push against the Moskva.
Moskva, yep. I would have expected him to kind of go behind the Moskva here.
Lulu, what happened there? Lulu just took a massive chunk from the Bourgogne's guns.
He just reversed a little bit too far, got spotted by the Shimakaze, and then big chunk coming out of those Bourgogne guns, but Bourgogne has been forced all the way off of the game.
Bourgogne is a quick battleship, using speed boost for another 85 seconds, trying to get back in the fray. Yeah, I mean, we see some really good plays as well from Rain. Obviously, they have a big map control, and they are set up now to contest anything that Prana can do. Kremlin already half HP by taking potentially a massive Vermont salvo he just missed. Yeah, this is not looking really good. We also have daring Congo line torpedoes going towards this Kremlin.
And
let's see how this goes.
We see Kremlin is going to be safe from those daring torps. If you look at the predictions here, Prana really not favored to win, actually, against Rain. They've played a very close game so far, but Rain only about a minute and 15 seconds away from taking away game 1.
It's looking awfully bleak as well for Prana. Yes, they have 1 minute until this. Maybe the Kremlin can pick up the Moskva. The only thing is, even if the Moskva goes forward, there's no threat, really. Like, it's going to be perhaps Stalingrad if she maintains her position. But right now, this Kremlin is just going to try to get the kill on this Moskva.
Yeah, he's coming around that island now, but Moskva has already had enough time to kind of sneak around that island, I believe. So the Kremlin not going to be able to find a nice connection into the rear. So torpedoes pass by.
Actually,
Ooh,
pretty decent salvo.
Not
Not
enough.
Not enough at all. Stalingrad, perhaps no position on the crossfire, because if Stalingrad would have maintained her position here, maybe she would have gotten a nice broadside. But here goes the radars, spotting the daring Kremlin goes down. That's the win.
That is the win for Rain. A pretty close game all the way until the end. I feel like the Kremlin just couldn't really make the move fast enough off of that Vermont kill. Got bogged up in the islands there, lost a little bit too much HP, and then couldn't make the kill happen onto the Moskva. So Prana is going to lose to Rain here. I believe that means that they do not have a chance at making it into tomorrow. They will still have to play a second game against Rain and show off maybe a little bit more of their skill, but I believe Rain is now cemented their place, second place in their group.
It's true. Well done to Prana still for having a very entertaining game on Warriors Pass, and let's give it to the studio for analytics.
Yep, Prana just not quite able to claw their way back into the game there off that early Moskva loss, unfortunately, and will not be advancing to day 2, I believe, based on the group standings. Rain securing their number 2 finish here, or potentially number 1, depending, I believe. But they will be one of the 2 teams.
At least the number 2, yeah.
They will be one of the teams advancing to day 2. So congratulations, and of course, also congratulations to Prana for making it this far in the internationals. Always an achievement to even be here. And honestly, not even a terribly played game. Of course,
no, definitely not.
They drew it out quite long, but Rain kind of just had a stranglehold off that initial Moskva kill. And at this level of play, even losing that one ship there can be so impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is also something interesting to point out here is the fact that Prana brought up Burgoyne when Des Moines is not a banned ship.
Yeah.
And obviously, Burgoyne has 12 guns, but it does not have 406s.
Yep.
So not only do you not overmatch the 27mm bow of the Des Moines, but you also do not overmatch the midsection of the Des Moines, that is 30.
So when the Des Moines is angled, you're kind of forced
you're basically just not doing any damage with AP, and you're forced to load HE to do damage, and Des Moines is, happy to trade against a Burgoyne.
Yeah, so we basically saw that Prana's strategy, it seemed like, was to take that early C cap with their Delny, which they managed to do. However, once that happens, Rain kind of knows A is free. They move into that, and then we're kind of left with 2 Prana ships facing across from 2 Rain ships, but Rain controls the cap, so definitely favored for them, especially when one of those ships is a Bourgogne. And of course, when you only have 2 battleships, you want to be getting the most use out of your battleships as possible. And I feel like the Bourgogne just really was never really a factor in this game.
Yep.
Unfortunately for Prana. As well as the Shima, of course. They did manage to stop the Des Moines from being able to, say, have free reign to just walk into Prana's spawn. But ultimately, Rain just needs to hold A cap, which they were able to do successfully.
Yes.
And then I also felt like Rain just had the better rotations towards the B cap once those side caps were
absolutely. I think
taken.
the daring from Rain, especially, I think he got caught, unfortunately, with the Stalin radar.
Yeah.
It was a bit unfortunate that he actually did get caught. However, when he did get caught, the reaction that Rain had to rotate the Gdansk over from the A cap to mid to then farm the Moskva out, in addition to Rain's Moskva helping out on that farming, really was the, I think, solidifying thing that confirmed the Rain victory for me.
Yeah.
Once they got the Moskva kill, Rain really was in the commanding seat of the game, and they just had to hold the B cap, and they were set up pretty well for it. The Kremlin did attempt to make a play. He pushed forward. Unfortunately, I agree with the casters saying that him stopping there was unfortunately not the best play. I think if he kept going, it is likely he would have had a better chance of getting something.
Yeah, he bled a lot of HP while he stopped there. That probably would have been more important for him to maybe survive to a second shot as he made the rush here, which we can see on screen. And of course, Moskva, not really one of the cruisers that you necessarily want to be rushing with the battleship.
No,
given how good the armor protection is, you're not very likely to one-shot it. And at close range, the Moskva AP can be very, very dangerous to something like a Kremlin. You can see here the Kremlin actually kind of forced to angle away so that he doesn't get sit, and that makes him kind of run out into the entire Rain team.
Absolutely. I think at that range, especially, the Moskva can most definitely citadel the Kremlin.
Yeah.
So him having to, respect the Moskva angle to him, while also taking fire from a Harugumo, a Gdansk, and the Des Moines, that's quite a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And he obviously did not have any damage cons due to eating tops again. And yeah, it was just a matter of time before he went down.
Even a very tanky ship like Kremlin, not going to live long under that kind of firepower. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at the render and we can break this game down in a little bit more detail for you guys. All right, so let's take a look here at the initial deployments. We can see Rain actually opting for no clubbers, which I was very wrong about. I thought they might like to play them here, but not opting for it, instead going for a very traditional control strategy.
Yeah, I think if we consider the Klebers and how they interact with the current restrictions, playing the Klebers will heavily limit what ships you can bring other than the Klebers, and it is something they probably didn't want to do in this case because Prana will probably have their own strat that is something unique, and they wanted to play their own game instead of trying to counter-strat them. And yeah, I guess they chose the more safe approach, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess also given that Minotaur ban that we were a little surprised to see, if they had played the Klebers, they would have had to give up at least one of these Des Moines, and there wouldn't have really been a great replacement cruiser for them to put in a smoke if they wanted to do this double smoke setup. So
yes,
it definitely makes sense in retrospect that they might not bring the Klebers here.
Yep. And so here we can see obviously the Delny capping the C cap, and Rain realizes this quickly and just turns in with their smoke. They go very aggressively straight into the A cap, realizing that obviously there is nothing there. They're just kiting that flank and take it almost immediately. And let's continue forward.
And this is one of the reads that is so important for teams at this level to be able to make pretty early into the game. Even when you don't have complete information, you can usually infer based on the certain things happening where the enemy deployment is likely to be. And again, it is important for Rain to actually flip this A cap as early as possible so they don't bleed too many points to that early C cap.
Absolutely, yeah, because the Delny obviously capping the C cap gave Prana the points lead at the start of the game, and so it is quite important that they don't let the points stick away too far while they aren't gaining their own points. So getting that A cap and having one cap each made sure that the point differential was staying the same at least.
And we can see here with the deployments that Prana is kind of opting for a very weak side for A, and just the Shimakaze and the Bourgogne. These two ships aren't going to be too impactful towards the B trading. And then kind of the linchpin for B control is these two Moskvas, providing the 12-kilometer radar. And these two Moskvas can shoot each other all day from their respective islands. So really the most important factor, I think, to controlling B is whether or not each team can get some extra help onto actually trading these Moskvas.
Exactly. And speaking about that, exactly, we saw the Daring go down to B to contest it and maybe even go into the channel. However, he gets caught by this Stalingrad's radar, and Prana actually has a very good reaction to try and kill him. They try to do a pincer play with both of their destroyers in middle. Unfortunately, with how the timings worked out and how fast Rain reacted to this, the Gdansk rotating to mid added just enough damage output to make sure that the Moskva dies before the Daring dies.
Yeah. And I think I almost wish that Prana had gone a little bit further with this Daring Delny play, where you can see here that as the Moskva is dying, the Daring Delny kind of stop on this rock. They don't really seem to want to commit to taking this angle to actually force this Daring out. And at this stage where the Daring is still bout into them, they probably have the potential to be able to finish him off here before the Moskva dies. And at least if they go down to this corner of the rock, the Vermont won't be able to get its guns on them too easily.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's probably potential for them to make this work out, but it's a very risky play and it is pretty hard to pull off still. So understandable that they would stop here.
Yep.
But in any case, we can see that the Moskva is losing the trade quite significantly here. It will go down, and from this point, it is very, very solidly in Rain's control, even with the Delny being able to trade the Vermont. One-to-one trade does favor Rain since they have the double cap control. And we can see that Prana isn't able to pick up the DM on the 10 line. The Kremlin tries to make his rush, but just kind of gets smashed out there. And from there, it's just Rain victory.
Yes. Right, let's see what is going on in map 2. I believe map 2 is Loop.
We will be seeing Loop again in the tournament. Again, we've been seeing this a surprising amount of times today. Rain opting to ban the Marseille, and Prana going for the Vermont.
Yeah, very interesting. Obviously, Vermont, we've seen quite a lot of Vermonts today.
Especially
very
from
strong.
Rain.
Especially from Rain, exactly. Yeah, so interesting. Last game, we saw no Vermonts from Prana. They brought a Burgoyne and a Kremlin. Very interesting battleship picks. Maybe they do something similar in this case. Obviously, Vermont being restricted means that Rain also will have to bring something different on loop. Definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, and I think one of the interesting stats we can mention here from the Asia Regional Tournament is that Vermont was actually, I believe, the lowest win rate battleship in playoffs. So despite Vermont being played and being pretty good on the EU and NA servers, as well as I believe on the Chinese regional server, doesn't perform as well for the Asia teams. So seeing them not bring it is not too surprising to me, but it is surprising to me that it doesn't perform well for them.
That is an odd one, definitely. I think Vermont is a ship that probably most teams would be more than happy to run.
Yeah.
It is just generally a very consistent ship and provides consistent results. And I'm very surprised that Asia actually has a poor win rate with it.
All right, well, we'll have to see how Prana shakes it up for round 2 here. I think the teams are ready, so we'll see if Prana can at least match it up here and give Rain a little bit of a bloody nose.
Along the Portuguese coast lies a crossing of sea lanes critical to the survival of opposing fleets. Surrounded by towers of crimson sedimentary rock and the expanse of the blue Atlantic, these two fleets will soon engage in trial by combat, where only one team can claim victory. This is Loop. Loop is a 48 by 48 kilometer domination style map with 4 cap points running in a line from west to east. The A and B caps are on the left, C is in the center, and D is on the right. In this new configuration, Loop now has 2 capture points on the west side of the map that can be seen as teams' home caps. Teams will now have to weigh whether it is worth deploying more ships west to try and capture the enemy home cap or merely defend and attempt to break through elsewhere. In the center of the map, capture point C has been greatly reduced in size. It'll be far more challenging for destroyers to comfortably capture this point without sufficient support from teammates and nearby radar cruisers. On the eastern side of the map, capture point D was moved further east. Destroyers wishing to capture this point will no longer find the safety of the island in the middle of the cap and face the threat of enemy radar or even enemy hydro from nearby islands. 18 ships, 2 teams, 1 victor. It's time to play Loop.
All right, going into our second game here on Loop. Ohio and Schlieffen coming out of Rain. San Martin, Des Moines, Salem, and Petropavlovsk joining them. Gearing, Delny, and Gdansk as their 3 destroyers. Spawning in the south is going to be Prana, Ohio, and St. Vincent, their 2 battleships. Worcester, Minotaur, and Napoli finally today. Shimakaze, Harugumo, Delny, and a Gdansk as their destroyers. So finally, a Napoli showing up.
Indeed. And a Schlieffen too, actually. We saw a Schlieffen today, but seems like we have a little bit of an issue. The team might have reset it, so we possibly going to go back to the studio. Bit of a technical fail start here. Sorry about that.
Welcome back, everybody, for our first mulligan of the day. Actually, it's somewhat surprising that we haven't ran into one so far. So
we didn't have any restarts in the EU official cast last week, which is a surprise.
Very lucky.
It's all good. It happens. It's part of the tournament, I guess. It's part of the play.
Of course, for our viewers, teams can choose to mulligan a game in the first 2 minutes. If a player experiences something like a disconnect, we don't want them to play an 8v9. So as long as it's early enough in the game that it doesn't impact certain things, then we can go ahead and restart. So we can take a look at some of the stats here in the meantime while we wait to get back in the game. Again, Rain opting to ban DM most of the time. Picking Daring a lot, I think that's pretty common for EU teams. It's one of the best cap contesting destroyers, as well as for Prana, the Daring being one of their most picked.
Interesting. Yeah, I think Daring obviously is a very strong destroyer. However, I think it relies quite a lot on the maps that you're playing. And as you can see, both of them, actually, Prana favoring the Warriors path pick. I'm not surprised that they are picking Daring a lot.
Yeah. Daring, I think you mostly commonly see it in that B cap in the middle of the map. The destroyer that has to contest that cap is often coming under a lot of radar pressure as well as a lot of fire. And the Daring with its 3 heals, the good British acceleration, and the fast smokes, generally one of the best ships that you can kind of put into that situation and expect it to not die. In any case, Rain actually with Minotaur as their highest win rate ship, a little bit surprising to me since I haven't seen them play it too much myself. But pretty common pick, as well as Mossra for Prana, not too surprising for me.
Absolutely.
What do you think about Estuary? How do you feel about Estuary, Baz?
It's an interesting map, right? I think it's a new map, and most teams are not ready, maybe not as prepared as they would want to be. And as a result, it is quite a unforgiving map. You either push mid, potentially into a massive crossfire, or you push for the flanks, and it's a very slow game. And both of those things are very unpredictable. As a result, I think most teams try to not play those games that are unpredictable.
Yeah,
it seems like the game is actually going, so let's go back to the casters and the game, please.
All right, see you guys there.
Let's try this again. Let's try this again. So, we were talking about the lineup. I assume both teams haven't changed anything as far as I can see,
I would
which
hope
is
so.
good. Yeah. Now, the nice thing about these lineups is actually there's no copy ships in each team. They each took like one different ship, which is very nice because we might see a lot of variety in gameplay. More often than not, you see like double Des Moines, double Harugumo and everything. This time, you know, a bit different.
A little bit different. We've got the Napoli in play finally. This is a ship that is heavily restricted in the current rule set. For a pretty good reason. This ship can exert so much pressure. It's an unbelievably tanky cruiser. It has great concealment, great armor scheme, and this fuel smoke to keep itself safe.
Torpedoes as well. A ridiculous SAP secondaries, overmatch on Minotaur.
Yeah.
You name it.
It has all the tools. So for good reason, it is heavily limited in this current rule set, but they have found a space for it here in their lineup. It's going to be heading towards that D cap. Looks like alongside the Shimakaze here.
Yeah, and in terms of Rain's deployment, we've seen that a lot of times. San Martin on the one line, just this like zombie cruiser, able to survive for such a long time. And it looks like so far, Rain is only going to send San Martin and Schlieffen on their home cap, while the rest of their forces is going to be focusing on Charlie and Delta, with an early cap potentially being backed by Rain here, with Gangbarang speed boosting his Delny into Charlie.
And actually, I think for the first time today, somehow, we have a Delny versus a Delny. I don't think we've had one on both teams.
You're correct.
Today, and unfortunately for Prana, they're going to miss their chance to deny Gangbarang this cap.
Gangbarang actually is going to get radared by Gdansk instantly.
Will be radared, but do they have a firing angle on him? I think they do with the other side here.
Yeah, we do have some resets. On the other side, we'll have the Shimakaze. I don't think the Shima wants to engage a Delny at this
We'll see if they can make something happen about this Delny push, but Gangbarang feels like he's pretty safe where he is.
Yeah, Prana, Gdansk taking a little bit of a beating here, unfortunately. Gdansk cannot heal while Delny can, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, Rain might actually be able to get an early cap. He is being radared by the Worcester now. That's a much longer radar, and I think Gangbarang is going to be under a little bit more pressure here.
Yeah, they're not quite able to find that reset just yet. They need to reset him in about the next 2 seconds in order to deny this cap, and they will not be able to. The Delny of Misama, SSS, charging up that, the 4 line in his Delny, not able to find the angle onto Gang.
It's got to be a little bit careful because he might be met by the San Martin's radar eventually. He's not quite there yet, but if he keeps pushing, he's going to have to decide, do I make a left turn and disengage? Yeah, I think so. So the predictions are... Come on, chat. It's a bit ridiculous, isn't it? 93% to 7% in the favor of Rain. So, you know, understandably so, I guess. But that's pretty drastic.
The Shimakaze torpedoes.
Oh,
quite a lot of them, actually, alongside the Napoli torps.
Oh, Gangbarang! He's going to be able to dodge them, actually.
Yeah.
These torpedoes might do a lot of damage, but they can be seen from the moon.
Yeah, those Shima torps, reasonably high speed and high alpha, but Japanese torps are very, very easy to see even without hydro.
We're gonna see, look at the train coming in here. Harugumo might start smoking St. Vincent and Minotaur, but the Schlieffen and the San Martin are gonna be facing an onslaught from Prana. I feel like since this game doesn't have that much repercussion anymore, both teams kind of...
Yeah, playing without a ton of care. Prana does not have a chance, obviously, of making it into the next day of matches. But Rain, I believe, can play for that #1 position in their group, which would give them slightly better seeding into the playoff bracket.
Lots of pressure being put on that Schlieffen already. Crossfires from the Ohio. Malimu landing, unfortunately, not enough damage on the St. Vincent, but you know, when a push is happening, of course, these teams are going to try to contest it. And Malimu from 24 kilometers away is going to have his guns pointed at the St. Vincent,
Yeah,
which
right
is
now,
really
still
interesting.
only the Delny putting in the damage onto Dastard Schlieffen. St. Vincent and Minotaur not joining in the fun just about yet. Looks like they're going to wait for that Harugumo smoke to come up before they really heavily engage. St. Vincent firing away with that HE. Obviously, it has the British HE, so very high fire chance, and high penetration, and high alpha on those shells.
Meanwhile, we're seeing some interesting plays as well around D. Both teams are kind of, you know, maneuvering around the cap. Oh, don't take that torpedo. Please don't take that torpedo. That's fine. These are Gdansk torpedoes. They are really fast, but don't do that much damage. Meanwhile, Prana is trying to reverse a Worcester into the cap. Now, it would be potentially feasible, even though the Petropavlovsk, of course, from Renin is instantly going to contest this.
Yeah, not too much in the way of a threat to him right now, because Malimu's Ohio is just over the crest of the island there.
We're seeing the Gdansk actually putting his ship into Alpha, getting blind fired by Gangbarang here, and taking a little bit of a punishment. San Martin burns the radar, spots the Delny and the Harugumo.
But not the Gdansk.
But not the Gdansk.
Oh!
Hey, San Martin, what happened there? Was that the St. Vincent?
That had to be the St. Vincent.
Yeah, do not underestimate St. Vincent. This overmatch is gonna put you into trouble. And now you see the focus fire from the entire force. It's just pouring on Astorius. And I believe Prana might actually bag the first kill here.
Yeah,
That's
Artorias, I believe, has not had the chance to charge those combat instructions off of the St. Vincent, so he will go down. He cannot get a second heal out quick enough.
Very interesting.
Oh, big damage going into the Minotaur of Prana, though. Still in that A cap. I believe that was Dastard Schlieffen. Took off like 40,000 HP off of that Minotaur. Is running that heal now.
But I mean, it is a Minotaur. It's able to take that one big salvo and just heal it all the way back. That's the only thing you get, though. Once you get even more Citadel damage like this, Minotaur starts giving less return on investment for the heals.
Yeah, unlike San Martin, Minotaur cannot heal absolutely all of that Citadel damage.
Nope. And meanwhile, Prana's Worcester, that got into a very precarious situation, manages to actually disengage and survive. He is getting blind fired to hope. Oh, and he actually gets set on fire, which means he's spotted again. Can he actually survive this now?
Oh, Petro not able to find the connection here. It's going to come down to Malimu's Ohio shells. Ooh.
And he gets to live. He gets to live. Very, very scary. We're going to see some more Ohio shells coming in.
As well as the long-range fire from Amazing Salem.
Ooh, wow, that's...
Somehow, some way, Frederica living through that radar. Oh, another...
He survives.
Yep.
I think it's his luck for the match at this point. But very, very aggressive push here from Prana on the home cap of Rain. Managed to get that cap under their control, and now they're going to redirect a lot of assets back towards Charlie. They're going to redirect Minotaur, Harugumo, and Gdansk, potentially only leaving the Delny and the St. Vincent to prevent anything from capturing A again.
Yep. They know, though, that there is a Schlieffen lurking on the wing here of Rain, and Schlieffen obviously one of the best ships at making that kind of a repush happen.
Oh yeah, now interesting smoke being laid down here by the Harugumo. I thought they would try to be a little bit more aggressive on the C cap, but maybe what they want to do is spot the Ohio from Rain and try to, you know, push him away. But I would expect the Harugumo to actually make a bit more of a play on C here, instead of smoking so far away from the objective they're trying to get.
I think he's trying to stay out of that Petropavlovsk radar. Obviously, even the short duration Petrol radar, enough for the Ohio to just remove the Minotaur from the game.
Oh yeah, and against a team like Rain, they're damn right they're gonna switch their focus on it. Shimakaze being caught deep into Lulu Snell's radar here. He's gonna have to wiggle that Japanese DD to try and survive this. But I mean, it is Lulu Snell. He's not really messing around with Des Moines.
Yep, and he's got backup fire from Amazing Salem, who's actually pretty close.
That is a double US DPM here on this Shimakaze, and the radar is still gonna be up for another 4 seconds. Is this enough for them to get the Shimakaze kill?
I think so. For Amazing Salem is like basically about 10 kilometers away, so...
He gets I mean, the Salem only has 8.5 kilometer radar here. Gets punished for it, actually. gets a little bit punished for it. But the Delny from Prana also getting under tremendous issues here, bordering the map versus the other Delny. I think heal or not, he's probably going to go dark. Is he dark?
I believe he is now dark, so they're just trying to blind fire him here.
Very interesting back and forth engagements here between these two teams.
And this being a 4-cap map, we see that with each team owning 2, we are taking towards that 700-point mark here for both teams with only a 20-point difference.
This could actually
so
be
a
very
single
interesting.
kill can mean the world for both of these teams.
It can make the difference, but it looks like Prana is slightly on the back foot because they completely lost any hold onto Delta, and this entire team now is going to make a very, very strong push towards C, towards B, and it's going to kind of wrap up around, if you look at the minimap, Rain's forces are going to wrap up around the entirety of Prana's forces, and that's going to be their demise, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we are going towards that 750-point mark. Misama's Delny on the edge. Are they going to be able to trade Gangbarang's Delny?
Oh, that would be ridiculous if they can do it, actually.
They can pick up a few more shell hits here against Gang.
Gang goes dark.
Oh my god. He was not outside of the smoke screen to hold on to that light, but 60 HP as he starts healing.
Oh, the Gdansk bags it.
Gdansk will bag that kill, so they'll even out that trade. Still a 20-point advantage for Prana here, owing to a little bit faster on that A cap.
Napoli from Prana being caught into that Des Moines smoke train here. Really, really rough for Napoli to be facing this. Lulu is going to keep that Napoli at bay all the way to the J10. So that ship is out of the fight for a long, long time. And I mean, there's not really any time anymore. We're seeing Selem from Amazing here being farmed down by Harugumo. Very annoying ship to fight, especially with that 32mm pen, or at least base 30mm pen.
Yeah, and Harugumo will actually just start his smoke here, just selfishly for himself. This interesting to note, this Harugumo actually, I believe, is running IFHE. So it does have that 37mm, I believe, penetration.
That's even better.
It's going to be able to do some work against the... I actually don't think it crosses any thresholds in this match, so...
Prana actually has to get a kill, and that's all they need to get the advantage again. I'm sure they're trying to put a lot of pressure on this Ohio. Malimu showing broadside to a long-range Ohio salvo. Takes a bit of a beating for it, but he should be safe from now on.
Yep, and he has to be careful with his positioning, though, because that St. Vincent on the other side could definitely poke around this island.
St. Vincent busy with the Gdansk, obviously, and the Schlieffen. These two ships have been basically keeping the entirety of A at bay. Even though they don't control the cap, they are still a nuisance for anything there.
Yep.
And with only 1 minute and 40 seconds left, if everything stays that way. Oh, we see some Congo Lines torpedoes from Minotaur here from Prana. This actually might catch the Ohio off guard. Is he going to go forward into them?
Here they come.
No, he's reversing.
He's just chilling.
It almost feels like he's kind of sixth sense these torpedoes in a way, because this could have been actually a big difference for Prana.
Yep, only 1 minute and 15 seconds. Both teams up at nearly 900 points.
Yeah, Rain's advantage, obviously, on the... wait, hold on. Am I reading the...
Yeah, Prana actually has a 20-point advantage here.
Prana has the advantage. Pardon my French.
So... Rain's trying to pick up a kill somewhere on the map. It looks like they're trying for that Napoli, who does now have his smokescreen back, but if he is firing...
Prana gets caught by Lukas Petropavlovsk radar. 11,000 HP, now 9. Would this be enough? Actually, Prana gets the kill on Lulu Snail all the way to the 910 line here.
And I don't think they can find a trade in the next 5 seconds. So actually, Prana will take away the second game over Rain.
Well done, Prana, actually. Well done denying Rain that first...
Denying Rain a chance at that first seed. And we saw the strength of the Napoli there, actually. The reason why it's such a fearsome ship, it's just alone on its own on its flank, and it trades 1 for 1.
Versus gearing Des Moines
which is like
smoke train.
One of the strongest combos you can currently bring in King of the Sea.
Definitely. Well done for Prana to actually winning that second game. They only lost 1 ship and put Rain on the back foot almost the entire game.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
That was a pretty serious last match of the day there.
Yeah.
Prana holding on to that 20-point lead for the last like 10 minutes of the game there for the victory.
Yeah, pretty long.
very slow and drawn out win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if the Delny trade didn't happen, Rain would have won that.
Yeah.
But them killing the Delny after he had gone stealth, while he was healing as well, was very clutch.
Yeah, that was
and
definitely
they held
vital
on to
for
the
them.
20-point lead and continued on with it.
Yep, and then we saw at the end there the Napoli actually being able to push down the 10 line, or rather up the 10 line, and actually getting the Des Moines killed there was actually also quite important. Of course, Rain with the 1-1 actually will be the team advancing, so Prana just giving them a bloody nose on their way out here. So well done to them. We'll be seeing Rain tomorrow. We have basically the final results now. We'll have Shaft and Rain advancing out of Group 1. We'll have 3X and TSYMQ advancing out of Group 2. There actually will be a tiebreaker for 4th place between AU and Bonks, the China number 2 and NA number 2 for 4th place, determining, I believe, who gets the cash prize. But neither of those teams will be advancing. And then we'll also have the playoff structure for tomorrow to show you guys eventually. But going back to this match, Prana felt pretty strong.
Yeah, I think the opening salvo essentially kind of helped them take the home cap. The salvo on the San Martin specifically, that was a St. Vincent salvo on the San Martin, who was pretty much angled, storm in, and just lost like more than half his HP, maybe more, and unable to farm his combat instructions. So was unable to pop a second heal and ended up going down. They lost the home cap, and the Delny and the Schlieffen essentially got pushed away behind the home cap island, and they made a good trade. Unfortunately, they didn't get anything more, and unfortunately at the end, the Des Moines went down to an Ohio salvo across the map. So
kind of disastrous scenario for the St. Martin there. That's definitely a ship that you want surviving as long as possible to get the value out of that heal, and getting dropped down to 9,000 hit points from the first St. Vincent salvo is not what you want to see. Basically, the only way that ship will die is getting almost dev struck like that. So quite unfortunate for him, but showing why you bring the St. Vincent for a push like that.
absolutely.
It is such a dangerous ship to play against as a cruiser, very hard to kill. And with Loop, even though the home cap push can take quite a while to execute, once you have it, those two home caps are much easier to defend than, say, C and D.
Absolutely, and we can see why the St. Vincent is now a restricted battleship.
Yes.
As it was used to some devastating effect in this game.
All right. So I think we can probably show off the group standings for today, so you guys have a sense of how all of our matches ended up. So I don't believe we have the render yet. All right, so out of Group 1, we will actually have Shaft taking first place over Rain. A little bit of vengeance, actually up there by quite a few points. Rain will be taking number 2 as the second team advancing to the playoffs tomorrow. Prana with that win there will be taking 3rd place, and we'll have Bonks and Aurora playing the tiebreaker later tonight for the 4th place. And then in Group 2,
we have 3X taking the first place, TSYMQ, the Chinese number 1 team, going through, which is amazing. I'm so happy to see a new clan being, in the top 4 internationally.
Yeah, it's
quite
definitely
an impressive achievement.
It's definitely exciting to see a Chinese team moving on. Given that in the previous COTS they have kind of underperformed, and I think now TSYMQ actually showing up and bringing their A game here. And
absolutely,
they even took a game off with 3X, I believe, which we didn't cast, but very impressive for them to be making it to the playoff stage here. So we will have 3 EU teams and 1 Chinese team moving on. Unfortunately,
EU dominance, let's go.
Unfortunately for NA fans such as myself. But do we have the playoff structure available? All right,
here we go.
So here's our schedule for tomorrow. We'll have the losers bracket match first, which is Rain versus TSYMQ. In the winners bracket, Shaft will be playing 3X, but I don't believe we'll be casting that. After Rain versus TSYMQ, we'll be showing the losers bracket final, which will be the winner of Rain or TSYMQ versus the loser of Shaft versus 3X. And then, of course, we'll have the grand final.
For all the money.
For all the money, that $17,500 grand prize for first place, of course. How do you feel about the matchups here?
They're going to be interesting. Obviously, the EU, like 3 EU teams being in the top 4, it's going to be teams that have played against each other quite a lot. I'm sure they are very familiar with each other's tactics and their plays and so on and so forth. So it's definitely going to be an interesting one. TSYMQ versus Rain as the starting match that we cast is going to be an interesting one as well. TSYMQ has obviously an interesting playstyle, very different to what we see on EU. And I'm curious to see how Rain reacts to this. Maybe we see another single battleship lineup from TSYMQ tomorrow and have some like interesting plays from it potentially.
It's been interesting to see TSYMQ, which in previous COTS we've seen them play very strong pushing strats, kind of adopting that control mentality now and playing very strong full control lineups. And Rain, which we saw take the grand finals in EU with that aggressive clever strategy, actually playing more fully controlled today. So this should be a pretty interesting matchup.
It shows that I think Rain is more capable of playing varied strats, right? You know, a top team is clearly going to be capable of doing various different things to a high level. And without this flexibility and adaptability of strats, you are not going to reach in these like end game tournament scenarios where you're in the top 4 playing against people who you have never played against before.
All right, well, I think that's the end of our day today. So why don't we bring in our casters to get their thoughts on the matches today and say goodbye, and we'll be getting ready for tomorrow.
Well, I just have to say 93% of you are wrong. That prediction was ridiculously in the favor of Rain, and yet Prana took the win. I'm going to go first if you don't mind.
Sure, go for it.
It was a pretty interesting stream today. Lots of action, lots of good battles and everything. I'm really happy for the teams and where they are placed. As you said, it's great to see a Chinese team making it to the top 4. And I'm really looking forward for tomorrow. It will only be 3 matches. And they're all going to be best of 5 as far as I understand.
I believe the losers bracket match that we'll be casting will be best of 3.
I understand. But the grand final itself will be a best of 5. So we are in for, again, lots of games, and this time with the top teams in the world for all the warships, which is really interesting. And I have to say, on a personal note, it's an honor to have been selected to cast this stream. And I hope I did a great job and I wasn't talking too much this entire time. That's my take.
Yeah, and from me, I think it's really interesting to see just how quickly the Chinese server has adapted and improved throughout. I think only last COTS were they actually included into the tournament for the first time. And then in a single iteration of King of the Sea, they've placed a team into the top 4, which is incredible considering you see the classically, the regions that we see are particularly strong in King of the Sea are EU and Asia, right? And suddenly we have this top 4 made up of course, the 3 European teams.
And also coming in and 1-1 on game 2
against 3X.
Versus 3X, which used to be like the King of the Sea winner 5 times. Depending on their clan names. So it's pretty good.
that Chinese server representation coming in really strong here, taking it over all the Asian and North American teams. So that's a little bit sad for me and Gaishu, I think, but but it'll be fun to see them play against maybe the teams that now they have to kind of respect them, because I think going into the tournament maybe they take a game off of 3X and everyone's like, ooh, suddenly these guys are good.
I mean, it's sort of a trophy, right? When you happen to do this, you kind of want to boast about that.
I'm definitely very interested to see their matchup versus Rain tomorrow. I think the 2 play styles of the teams should be quite interesting to watch come into conflict. You guys have any thoughts for the day tomorrow?
I hope I get a good night's sleep so I can actually cast it the best possible way. But in terms of prediction, obviously, if this is what the question you were asking?
Sure.
Prediction on my end, honestly, I can't tell. I mean, of course, there are fan favorites. 3X Rain have the best chances in terms of, I guess, the experience in King of the Sea, at least on high-level play. They've been reaching internationals a few times now already, so they can handle this sort of pressure a bit more than other teams, I assume. But again, we've seen a lot of turnarounds and unexpected things happening during these 2 weekends. Nobody knows, actually, who could take the first place tomorrow.
Yeah, and actually, looking at our first 2 matchups tomorrow, they are going to be, obviously, we're casting Rain versus TSYMQ in that lower bracket. It's going to be Shaft versus 3X in the upper bracket in the meantime. We won't be casting that game, but I'm actually kind of curious as to how that will turn out, because Shaft seems to have leveled up today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we saw them play really well, not only today, but also last weekend. So if they keep this up, who knows? Maybe they can beat 3x tomorrow.
Yeah, Shaft has definitely been bringing their A game. We'll have to see how tomorrow's games go, guys. But I think for now we'll be saying goodbye and wrapping up today. So thank you all for watching, and we hope you'll tune in tomorrow for the grand finals of King of the Sea 16.
Bye-bye.